Welcome to New Light Living Podcast. I'm Ulrika Sullivan. I'm an intuitive spiritual life coach. Today, we're going to talk about breaking codependency patterns and becoming sovereign. This topic, I feel, is long overdue, and long overdue are some of the patterns and cycles that we maintain unconsciously if we don't allow ourselves to notice them. This episode is going to shine some light on the shift from going from being codependent to sovereign. So let's dive into this important topic and let's take a look at the energy of codependency first. Just because we become adults at some point, we think that we become our own individual, our own person automatically. And that may be because we as an adult, we feel that we have our own opinions, we have our choices we can make, and that is us as an individual. But how true is that we are a sovereign being, even if we are, automatically becoming an adult at some point? More often, we are bringing patterns and attachments to our past into adulthood, and it plays out in different ways. Some patterns are serving us really well. It encourages us to be the person we are and have a self-expression that is aligned with who we are. But some other patterns that we bring in with us into adulthood are not serving us anymore. And some attachments to things, people, behaviors, or values even are pulling us down and making us feel heavier, if you will. And we're going to go into the energy of this in a minute. For me, my own story, codependency meant that I went into adulthood not really feeling that I had my own opinions about things. I leaned on others, especially my mom, to provide me with the right answers. And that had been a pattern of mine since childhood. And I took it with me into adulthood without really reflecting on it back then. And I realized after, having done work on this myself, to allowing myself to notice what are the patterns that are not serving me any longer. What I noticed was that I didn't want to stir the pot. I didn't want to make a fuss. So I stepped back and let others decide for me what was right for me. And this is in simple terms, but you can see the dynamic that not wanting to really stand for who I was or what my opinions were. And that was a codependent pattern for me until I broke it. For others, it may be to attach to a family member and their values that they gave to you in childhood, and never really questioning if those values still are valid for you. And so these are just examples of codependency that we bring in with us from childhood, young adulthood, into adulthood, and we don't really questioning them unless we are open to look into our life, identifying patterns such as codependency and other patterns that may serve us well, and some patterns may not serve us well. Next, what does it mean to become sovereign? In my opinion, sovereignty is an inner feeling. It's an inner feeling of sourcing love from within, as opposed to codependency, which may be a dynamic with somebody else or a situation, or where we feel we need to get something back, whether it's love, validation, or other energy attachments that feed our own love subconsciously. Becoming sovereign is to source that loop of love, self-love within ourselves, irrespective of who's around us, even immediate family, siblings, friends, partner, etc. It is that inner energy of I am sovereign, I am my own, and I know what's right for me. And this has a link to the episode last week where I talked about how to listen to your own intuition and trusting that. Yes, becoming sovereign includes trusting your own inner guidance system, your own intuition, and your connection with what's greater than you. So how, this is huge, right? So how can you become more sovereign? Well, it comes with that openness to look at what patterns are existing within your life today, and specifically release patterns that are not serving you anymore. And it may be very subtle. It may be a friend that you have been relying on through your childhood and up to adulthood and through, and you have a specific relationship that may have gone into more of a codependent relationship as you have grown up. And the way you can identify a codependent relationship, for example, what is the energy within that relationship? Does that person, for example, allow me to feel like I'm expanded, that I have freedom to say, to express, to be myself? Because if somebody is codependent to someone else, it often comes with an energy and a feeling of restriction. And you know if and where that exists within your life today. And that may be an indication that there may be a codependency pattern going on there. Another way to strengthen your own sovereignty is to connect with your inner child. And yes, as an adult, we have an inner child within us. And that is simply our life force. And the more we connect with our inner child, listen to that inner child, what that child is telling us that we need, the more we can feed and satisfy that inner child. And that is linked into this loop of self-love that we can source within ourselves and not rely on external people or situations or things. So when was the last time you were playing? I mean, like playing really freely with no intention, or that is the energy of your inner child. And if that was a while ago, you were truly playing, that is something that I truly encourage. To make space for yourself in your life to play and unbounded, whether it's, well, what that means to you and how that looks like to you, you know already. Expand on that energy of the inner child. What could you focus on in your adult life that has the same quality energy as that freedom of play that your inner child loves? How could you bring that more into your life today? Now, to close the loop on this, codependency is an energy of restriction. It feels, so go back into your life, look around within yourself where you feel restricted. Is it at work? Is it with a family member? Is it a certain situation that you frequently are in? You know where in your life you feel restricted. And that could be an indicator of a codependency, as opposed to sovereignty, where you are fully in yourself, feel expansive and inspired, and you have a sense of freedom and play. That is your energy of sovereignty coming through. So, thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you got inspired to get out there and play and become more sovereign.